So I just hopped on a bicycle and headed over towards the White House. Now you might wonder, hey, YK, would you go over to the White House for today's video? Well, as I was watching the first presidential debate between Trump and Biden, I was having flashbacks to a younger time when I was a kid and was being bullied, and how reminiscent what President Trump was doing to Vice President Biden reminded me of how people behaved when I was younger, 2nd grade, 7th grade, kindergarten even. So I thought today's video on bullying, this would be the perfect setting for it. So for me, childhood was not, overall, a very happy part of my life. I was aware that I was different from a lot of other kids. I was artistic, sensitive, creative, socially awkward, physically awkward, very empathic, that I really sensed very strongly not only my own feelings, but what other people were going through. So for me, being with other kids who felt very rough and tumble, especially other boys, I just never felt at ease. Especially being somebody who would grow up to realize that he was queer in Midwestern, suburban America in the 90s, that was not comfortable, that was not cool. And I quickly learned that being me was not a safe thing that I could be. So I started to armor up. I started to try and deny parts of myself. Other kids would make fun of homosexuals, they'd make fun of gay people, they would make fun of me for seeming effeminate and liking girly things, play with my friends who were girls' dolls and do their hair, paint, sing and dance. I liked to wear costumes. So it wasn't comfortable being me. And I used to go to bed at night praying that I wouldn't be gay. I started to try and project confidence, which wasn't really confidence, it was discomfort, and ended up coming across as being arrogant rather than anything else. Other little kids would pick up on that I seemed disingenuous, that I seemed like I was faking it. And I didn't realize I was faking it at the time. I felt so ostracized and so alone. Now I don't know for sure any reasons why I felt so targeted. Perhaps everyone that age feels like they're being equally bullied and picked out and made fun of. There were very few people who stood up for me that I felt very unique in my suffering. And I get that empathy is a skill that develops in our brain later in life, that we don't realize how much other people are hurting besides ourselves. Feeling such immense despair, feeling so lonely and so targeted and so unloved and so unwelcome. Maybe I wasn't unique, but it felt that way. And I felt like I didn't really belong. Even being in the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, I was picked on by the other boys. It got to the point too that when we moved at the end of 5th grade, a large part of the reason that we were moving was to try and give me a new start in a new school district because the bullying had gotten so bad. You can see the White House again from this angle over here, a little bit over the fence. Now, one of the things I've come to think of as I've gotten older is about the idea of karma, that I had some sort of karma that I needed to go through this. Perhaps I've done something really atrocious in my last life or last few lives, that this could be part of a bigger karmic lesson. Another part, though, is this idea of the importance of suffering. Now, my mom, beautiful person, love her to death. She had a really super easy childhood. In teenage years, it was like a golden period of her life. Nothing was really hard. She was popular, really beloved. Everything came pretty easily for her. Had really strong groups of friends. She was welcomed wherever she was. Versus for me, that was kind of the opposite. And I watch her struggle. Like, I watched her not have developed the coping mechanisms when she was younger because life was so easy. I think there was a lot of benefit to having to struggle a little bit, or a lot, when you're younger, because it teaches resiliency, it teaches grit. I know for me, as horrible and as horrendous as my younger years were, like, I learned that I could cope with very difficult situations. I learned that I could trust myself, which is a really tremendously invaluable skill to get. And when you learn to endure hardship when you are young, then those skills translate into later in life, versus if your younger years are easy and then suddenly you're dealt with big obstacles, which we all have at some point or another, suddenly they seem so overwhelming and like things with which we cannot cope. Now, as bad as my younger years were, elementary school, things got exponentially worse by the time I entered 6th grade. So 6th grade is when we changed school districts. We moved to make things better. Oh man, they got so much worse. Whereas I'd say the bullying was like a 5 out of 10 in my old school district, I at least had those 2 or 3 friends from time to time that I could turn to, that I didn't feel so alone. But when I moved in 6th grade, there was literally no one who wanted to be my friend. I sat alone at lunch every single day. I walked home from school alone. If someone happened to see me on the street, they would shout obscenities at me. Then 7th and 8th grade, when I went to the middle school nearby, like, there was not a single passing period where I was not in tears. Every single time I went back into the hallway to go to my next class, someone would say something or make a face or push me or shove me or knock my books out of my hand or spit at me or cuss at me or do something to make me feel less than human. And I don't know the reason. Perhaps it was because of my inauthenticity and effeminacy or queerness, but I don't know for sure what made me a target. Maybe it was because I was being an outsider coming into their school district. All I know is that middle school was pure hell. And I honestly don't know how I survived, because I look at the stories of other people, other young people who commit suicide or turn that rage on other people, and horrible situations like Columbine or other school shootings. It was that bad. I could have been that person, right? If I had been somebody different, the level of suffering I went through at that time could have drove me to take my own life or take the life of another person. And my poor mother at this time, she used to go to bed at night crying every night because she didn't understand why was this happening to me, and she really felt like there was nothing that she could do. My dad worked nights at that point at a casino, so I didn't really see him very much. I didn't know until later that for the bulk of my childhood, my father was struggling with depression. He was fairly emotionally not around, physically, yeah, but emotionally just not there for me. And so then me knowing that I was causing my mother all this stress made the situation even worse, because then I'm like, my pain is causing somebody else pain. And of course she would, never want to think of it that way, but that's how I felt a little bit. Everything I tried, whether it was trying to act confident or talk to people or fight back, or be even kinder or talk to the principal or guidance counselor, nothing worked. I spent every day holding back tears, and every day on the way home from school crying and dodging bullies who wanted to say something to me or hurl another insult to me. Fortunately, high school happened. I got into a gifted program and got to go to a different high school than I was supposed to go to. I put in a group of the same 30 people for all my classes for all 4 years. And we were all awkward and nerdy and socially uncomfortable and physically uncomfortable. None of us drank or dated, anything. We were all this little group of weirdos together. So I finally felt like I belonged a little bit. I started to feel like I had friendships. And a couple of those people have become some of my best friends even into adulthood. So those were a pretty good 4 years. As I moved into college, you would think, okay, we're growing up, things are going to get better, but college was another really bad situation. I went to Northwestern University, which is a highly competitive school. And on top of that, I was in the theater and music theater program, which is a highly competitive program. And suddenly, I'm in the arena with all these rich kids, privileged kids who have all gone to theater camps every summer and understand social climbing and the importance of relationships to get where you want. And I'm like this kid from the suburbs who's awkward and doesn't understand anything and so uncomfortable with himself. And they very quickly established a hierarchy of everybody in our program of like where you sat and how talented they saw you. And I'm pretty sure second from the bottom out of about 100 in my year. I had numerous people pretend to befriend me just so that they could then share any personal information I disclosed to them with the other people in the theater program and then laugh about me behind my back. So many moments of realizing I couldn't trust anybody and nobody was there to be on my side and feeling so utterly alone. And I remember calling my parents in tears being like, I don't think I'm in the right program. Like, I love the art, but these are not my people. And those 4 years at Northwestern, just being gut-wrenching over and over again, never feeling accepted, always feeling outcast, always feeling alone, never feeling loved. And then add on to that too, again, closeting my sexuality even for myself. I didn't get to date, I didn't get to experiment. I think I went to like 4 parties the entirety of my 4 years there. I basically just overloaded my schedule, did way too much, and stayed in a state of sleep deprivation so I wouldn't have to deal with my feelings. I used being busy as a supplement for really living, for really enjoying my life. And to a certain extent, it worked. I made it through. I graduated top of my class. But it was deeply, deeply painful. So this brings me back to why I decided to shoot the video over by the White House. Watching this presidential debate, which if we can even call it that, because there was nothing about it that was presidential, this bully, this man who's deeply uncomfortable with himself, lashing out at his opponent, lashing out in these petty, childlike, mean, infuriating ways, made me feel like I was back in middle school, made me feel like I was back in second grade. And I still feel nauseous. The night of the debate, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with a pit in my stomach, being like, oh my God, this is exactly what I went through. And this is the leader of our free country? Like, that anybody permits this to be acceptable makes me want to throw up. Like, I don't care what you believe about policy. I don't care what you believe about what we should be doing in politics. You should care about human decency. And the fact that that man is so far beyond the pale of what anybody I would ever want to interact with or anybody that I love would ever support, like, it makes me want to throw up. Like, this is not how humans should behave. We should be so much better than this. I called my father after the debate and asked him for his thoughts, because my father voted for Trump the first time, and I had heard recently that he was thinking this next time around he would be voting for Biden. And I asked him, like, don't you think that Trump was largely responsible for, he did 90% of the attacking. Biden was largely on the defense. He said, no, they were both equally bad. And I had this experience of feeling re-traumatized again, feeling again like, hey, there's this bully, and my parents are doing nothing to stop it. Dad, come on. F you, man. Stand up for what's right. Don't condone this behavior. And the fact that he would even say that they're both at fault, shame on him. And shame on us as Americans for permitting this. We all deserve better than this. We all deserve to be safe, respected, feel like we belong. And to live in a place where anyone doesn't feel that way, then we have failed. We have failed as a country and as a people. So it's clear that I'm emotional about this. And that's okay. Sometimes people think if you're a meditator, if you're a spiritual practitioner, you're supposed to be surrendered about everything. You're supposed to be in the state of non-doership, non-emotions. And while there is truth in that, we are always human. We will always have feelings and longings and desires and emotions that come up. And the important thing is to remember you are not your emotions. They are things that are happening. You are something so much deeper, something deep and unchanging and timeless. We're still going to feel. And yes, we should work with our emotions. We should work with our feelings and realize that we're so much more than that. We're going to have relationships. We're going to love. We're going to be disappointed by other people. We're going to have our heart broken by people and their behaviors. But one of the things we should do as people who are working to grow and be our best selves and are on a spiritual journey is to practice kindness, to practice compassion, empathy, gentleness, forgiveness, love. These are the qualities that I want to embody. These are the qualities that I want to treat other people with and have other people treat me with. Qualities that I want my friends and my family and my loved ones and those who I hold closest to me to demonstrate on a regular basis. But it starts with ourselves. We have to begin with that. We have to live in forgiveness. We have to live in kindness. We have to live in trust and dignity and respect and demonstrate how we want others to behave. As Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. So if I may, I'd like to lead us in a little meditation, something to help us heal from our previous hurts and also try to be the best people we can be for others. So take a deep breath. Feel yourself sinking inside. Feel yourself letting go of your stories, your pain, your drama in your life. Feel yourself just be here now. Remind yourself that you are not the events that happened to you. You are not the thoughts you think. You are an indelible, radiant spirit. Feel yourself relaxing inside. whatever wrongs were done to you, let them go. Whoever has hurt you, bless them. Send them love, even if that feels wrong, even if it feels painful. They were doing the best they could to live their happiest life, even if it felt malicious, even if it felt horrible and wrong, even if it felt very intentionally cruel. People do what they do because they think that's what will give them their best life. That will make them happy. Bless them. Forgive them. Bless them so they hurt no one else. Bless them so they find healing. Forgive them. Forgive yourself for not handling it better, for not protecting yourself better, for not doing more. As horrible as your situation might have been, as uncomfortable as it still may be, realize that there is a lesson in it for you. As Eckhart Tolle says, how do you know that this experience is the one you need? Because it's the experience you're having. Learn, let go, laugh, love, forgive, and vow to yourself, promise yourself that you will not allow these difficult memories and experiences to make you hard and jaded. That you will still love, that you will still laugh, that you will still be kind and respectful, even if people spit at you, even if they troll you, even if they say horrible things. When they go low, we go high. Offer kindness, offer love, even if it's difficult. And I realize there may be a knot of pain inside that says you cannot do these things, and that's okay. It's okay to not be there. But keep working at it. Keep offering love. Keep offering love. It is the best and highest emotion we can offer. So thank you for joining me on my YouTube station today. If you know somebody for whom this video may be of value, please forward it to them. And if this meant something to you, please leave me a comment below. I'd love to know how these things affect others. I have a book coming out, Journey to the Ecstatic Self. It's available for pre-order now online, wherever books are sold. If you feel so inclined, please subscribe and tap the alert button to know when videos are posted. I'm no longer doing a video a day. I'll do them as often as I can, probably about once a week. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. It's an honor to be here with you.